Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to today's session on Breaking the Silence and let's talk about mental health in research. I'm Rashna Sehgal, the commissioning editor at Sage Publication, and I'm honored to serve as your moderator for this event. Without further ado, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed speakers, Dr. T.S. Satyanarayan Rao and Dr. Preeti Rawat, who will be delving into this crucial discussion and helping us breaking the silence as captured in the session's catchphrase. Before we proceed further to hear from our distinguished speakers and open the floor for discussion, I would like to encourage our audience to post their questions in the chat box. Our speakers will address them during the Q&A session at the end. So firstly, allow me to introduce Dr. T.S. Satyanarayan Rao. Hello, Dr. Rao.
Hello.
Dr. Rao is a distinguished figure in the field of psychiatry, holding the position of Professor Emeritus at the Department of Psychiatry, JSS Medical College, Mysore. With extensive expertise in psychosexual medicine, he serves as the chief coordinator in this area. Dr. Rao's contribution extend to various leadership roles, including his past tenure as the General Secretary of Indian Psychiatric Society, past editor of Indian Journal of Psychiatry, and his current position as the elected president of the South Asian Societies for Sexual Medicine. Affiliated with the International Society for Sexual Medicine, his editorial roles are significant, currently serving as the editor of the Journal of Psychosexual Health, which is currently published by Sage. Recognition of his contribution comes through multiple awards and orations such as DLM Murthy Rao, C.V. Raman Distinguished Scientist, and Acharya Awards, totaling 26 prestigious honors. Furthermore, Dr. Rao has held the presidency of various professional bodies, including the Indian Association for Geriatric Mental Health and the Karnataka Sexual Sciences Academy. We also have Dr. Preeti Rawat on board. Hello, Dr. Rawat.
Hi, how
so
are
Dr.
you?
Preeti is an good now. Thank you. So Dr. Preeti is an organizational psychologist and has earned her doctorate in the area of empowerment and organizational effectiveness. She currently holds the position of Director Faculty and Staff Development Center, Somaya Vidya Vihar University, and Professor in Organization Behavior and Human Resources at KJ Somaya Institute of Management, Somaya Vidya Vihar University, Mumbai. Her research interests encompass empowerment, attitudes, leadership, diversity, inclusion, and culture. With a robust academic background, Dr. Preeti has published her work in reputed journals and also authored case studies on Indian organization in collaboration with Case Center. With almost 2 decades of academic experience, Dr. Preeti also specializes in behavioral training and counseling. Her expertise extends to conducting corporate training sessions in private and public sector organizations. These sessions cover a wide array of topics, including leadership, employee engagement, psychometric trainings, interpersonal effectiveness, motivation, effective listening, transactional analysis, and last but not the least, self-understanding. Dr. Preeti was instrumental in setting up the Center for Diversity Management and Inclusion, CDMI, at KJSIM. CDMI works to encourage research in the area of D&I and also conducts sensitization training. Dr. Preeti serves as the editor of Business Perspectives and Research, the Institute's journal, published by Sage Publications, and the journal is currently ranked as Q2 and a part of ABDCC and ABS1. So warm welcome, Dr. Roy and Dr. Preeti.
Thank you.
Now, sir, as this
Hi.
session about mental health in research, and the mental health is a topic of conversation nowadays and is a serious concern in academia across the world and at all level of professionals. So there is an increasing global push we can see, and also in India, to acknowledge this and bring discussion on mental health to the forefront and seek and share individual and collective solutions to support and promote the mental well-being of academic researchers. So my first question is with Dr. Rao. I would like to request you to share your thoughts on what are the prevalent mental health challenges faced by researchers in India.
Of course. At the outset, let me thank Sage for this wonderful opportunity that has been provided. And the topic chosen, breaking the silence, mental health in research, is a very topical one and extremely important for our understanding and overcoming certain aspects. Somebody can treat it as an opportunity and as a challenge to overcome certain difficulties there with that. also uh, welcome personally my speaker, and I'm very happy to interact with her. See,
Thank
coming
you.
to
Thank you, Dr. Rao.
mental health, this is one of the very important area. We as psychiatrists, we are all well aware, though a lot of changes have happened, so much of progress we talk about, but all said and done, when we are trying to look at the public in general, still many people don't believe that mental health issues are extremely important. Psychiatric problems are real. They create quite a bit of devastating effects on every individual, and there is a significant treatment gap. One is making
Yes.
diagnosis, second giving treatment, and patients' relatives understanding and continuing the treatment. Many of the times, feeling well is not equal to getting well. So there is a whole lot of issues there. This is the issue. What we are talking about is the public in general. All along, even if we try to look at government agencies, whole of administrations, institutions, there is a very clear lack of understanding related to this. But you are well aware the amount of budget what they spend, and amount of emphasis what they give for mental health and many of these type of things. If you try to look at, there's a whole lot of problems. And coming to this particular today's area, the researchers and issues involved, we are all well aware that when we are talking about research in general, this is one of the taxing area. What it means is somebody should have passion, perseverance, and like the capacity to overcome, and whole lot of such issues are there. And whenever we are talking about these things, see, when we are trying to talk about medical research, take an example, or maybe the mental health research particularly. Uh, Whole lot of studies are available now to document that among doctors, mental health is a major issue. Not because of any other reason, except that we're all treated as what we call as noble professionals for that matter. That means automatically it adds that extra burden that we have to take care of so many things. Compared to many other professions, this is one of the professions where what we basically call it's too overwhelming for many people. And people have documented even among the different branches, maybe the anesthesia, the highest reported figures. And the second one is the surgeons group. The third commonest is actually the psychiatrists or the psychologists. In fact, significant mental health problems have been documented. And very recently, so for example, in our institution, we had about 3 days, 3 days ago, the NMC team, because they are realizing that there is a whole lot of increase in suicide rate among the undergraduates, significant increase in suicide rate among the postgraduate students, and the third, among the professionals itself, there is a significant problem. What I'm trying to emphasize here is actually that mental health is a problem as far as every individual is concerned, population in general. And when we are trying to talk about researchers in particular, there are different aspects that are involved, which actually calls for the foregoing lot of things. In fact, when we talk about postgraduate students who are doing research, and say, take an example as a part of thesis, and even other general researchers, what they are trying to do, the amount of effort what they need to put up along with regular issues is something phenomenal, and uh, we can understand the amount of stress what they are going through. Now even NMC is realizing that they should take some rest. There should be some gap or relaxation hour should be available to them, and recognizing the problem very early. But the whole issue sometimes, even when we are trying to talk about major issues like that, what actually they are trying to look at the problem, they are trying to look at only that purely the situational, relational, and other related aspects as the cause. But it is much more. There is something biology. Some people are vulnerable. In fact, when we want to talk about prevention, this is one of the extremely important aspects. What one need to keep it in mind. Some people are prone. Some people are sensitive. Some people can take responsibility or this thing at particular level. There is something called slow learners or some people can handle only few of those reports. And this is particularly so because this newer generation, what we are seeing, they are not being trained for what you call the that hardiness, what we talked about, facing the stress or the resilience to go through and overcome the problem, and that's why actually they land up it. I think this may be a lot of areas where discussion will come as and as we proceed. I stop at this level and again intervene when other questions come or as and when I need to talk.
Yes, Dr. I completely agree with your point. So we can say the coping level of every individual and the situation of every individual is completely different. We could not compare both in this scenario. However, my next question is with Dr. Rawat. Dr. Rawat, because you as a working as a professor, as an editor of a journal, you maintain close connections with researchers. So, what is your opinion on publish or parish culture in academia? How it impacts the well-being of researchers, and do you believe that peer support and mentorship programs should be enhanced to provide better support for mental health in academia?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity, and I'm really fortunate that today I'm sharing this dais with Dr. Rao, and I'm sure there would be a lot of takeaways for everybody, including me. And coming to your question of publish and perish, yes, today there is an intense, rather competition for publishing in good journals. And from the time that you find the rankings have come in for the journals, whether it is ABDC ranking, whether it is ABS ranking or the Scopus ranking, or you name it, any other ranking. So there is a gradation, a hierarchy, and higher you are, more accomplished you are perceived, not only by your colleagues, but also the institution and organization where you want to apply or where you are already working. So definitely this creates a lot of pressure. Uh, and there is a fair amount of uncertainty when you are working on a paper. You really do not know what is going to be the future of this paper, while you feel that you put in your very best. And from your side, the paper is a ready paper, but it may happen that even that paper may undergo a desk reject. So, and then yes, it does hit a person very badly, and it can lead to all kinds of anxiety, psychosomatic problems are there, which Dr. Rao will definitely be talking about. You will find there's loss of sleep, loss of appetite can happen, mood swings can be there, withdrawal behaviors. When, as a colleague to a researcher, if you find you're seeing these things in them, it's always better to recommend your friend to a counselor. uh, there is still a stigma around this, that people are ashamed of visiting a counselor for taking help, even amongst, and researchers are, I'll say, the one of the most accomplished set of people. They are highly learned, and still you'll find that this thing is there of they are open to going and talking to a friend, but to a trained counselor they will think twice whether they should be going or not. So one is that there should be a sensitization programs run in institutions, that just as you have any other physical problem for which you visit a doctor, similarly, for any kind of a mental issue, it could be temporary, it could be having a physiological cause, a psychological cause, it could be traumatic, whatever. It's always good to take the help of a counselor and take it forward. So that is one thing. Publish or perish does create this kind of a thing. Now, this is as far as the good quality journals are concerned. Now, there is, if you swing to the other side, there are journals which fall in the category of predatory journals, dubious journals, where they will try and entice you to send your manuscripts today, tomorrow they'll get accepted, and on the third day they get published. There is no review happening to it, and maybe they are also publishing plagiarized work. Nobody knows. So many times when people are experiencing anxiety, they get tempted to somewhere send their work, get it published, and get some brownie point that yes, there is a publication which is attached to their CV. But it is here that as colleagues and as guides, we should help them that do not go for these journals, because these journals, I'll say, would be published for perish. You publish here and your career is doomed forever. So wait, have patience, work on the feedback that the journal sends you. It could be, and many times, when I started, I talked of a desk reject. So that generally happens when the your paper does not match the aims and objectives of the journal. So whenever you are choosing a journal, be very very mindful of reading the aims and objective page of the journal. Read a couple of papers which are published there. Is your paper aligned to what the journal is talking about? What is the kind of conversation which is on in that journal, and is your paper addressing in some way or the other that conversation? So when this is happening, then definitely your paper will not get desk rejected. It is going to undergo revision, and then you may get a major or minor revision which you work around it, and your paper gets published. So this is as far as a little bit on publish or perish, and also being aware of dubious journals. Now coming to your second part of your work is in terms of like what kind of support can be extended. So here I would say is uh, you know there should be an atmosphere of open conversation. Often you will find researchers are very what shall I say, secretive about the topic. They will not want to discuss it, and this happens because there's a fear that your idea, your methodology, or whatever unique you have, maybe somebody is going to quickly replicate it, and then you will lose out. So somewhere that culture of openness, of respecting each other's work, of critiquing each other's work, so that collectively you find the work gets strengthened, that needs to be encouraged in our universities and institutions. Like a lot of very good institutions, you will find weekly or at least monthly, they will have a seminar where young researchers are discussing their work in progress, right? And that brings their work in a small fora. It is opened, and they get them instant feedback whether they are on the right track or not, and this feedback they get from established scholars. So this is something which I would say is a kind of peer support, that a very positive peer support, that I would say will be very helpful for researchers. Then another thing that I would also want to say is that work on your habits. Many times we are okay to read a paper, but we are not very okay in writing it out in terms of what are the takeaways or what is the essence of that paper in our own words. So somewhere I was reading Ink to Think. I do not know which author has talked about. So my full credit goes to that author, but they have talked of Ink to Think, which means that whatever you are writing, that is going to set you thinking. So you read a paper, try and write it in your own words. What is it that you've understood? And this is going to help you create your own style. Many times, the reviewer is going to give you a feedback that the paper should have a story. The story in this paper is missing, while content is there, right? Methodology, everything is there, but the story is missing, right? And that story you will get only if you are writing and you are able to string concepts, facts together in a very conversation format and put it there in your work. So this is something that I would say is write daily, even if it's a small paragraph, write it. And this is also going to handle handle the anxieties which is inside you, and will also help you to gain that confidence. Yes, I can write, because the biggest challenge that a lot of authors face is putting a nice discussion piece together. So they've done a wonderful piece of research, methodology, everything is in place, but when it comes to stringing together everything in a discussion section, and that is a time either it is very short, it is a lot of room for improvement is still left, and or you will find that the editor will say, yeah, yes, I read, but that zing is missing, that little what is it that your unique contribution that is missing. So this you will be able
Yes.
to over if you are writing
Yeah.
your work.
Absolutely.
That, another thing that I would also say, two more things that I would say is, also as a researcher, develop the habit of networking. When you are networking, two things happen. One, people get to know about you and your work, and therefore if they are working on the similar area, they will invite you for a or collaborative paper, or at least some kind of a collaboration can come out of it. That is one. Second, if you are interested in multidisciplinary research, because today that is the area where maximum publications are happening, and when you are network, people will know you, and either you can invite others or others will invite you for their work. So this is something that I would say is very important, and it will also to a great extent address the anxieties of the person. So,
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right, ma'am. Because I
state of
agree with, yes,
yeah,
I agree with your point that it is difficult to accept the rejection, and we do not want to talk to anyone that we are rejected. That's the main thing.
yes,
And the communication is the main power, we can say, to cope up with the stress. So,
yeah.
like Dr. Rao also mentioned about these points. So, my next question is related to this only, sir, that we have witnessed researchers experiencing such high level of stress nowadays, and they struggle to cope, which led to tragic outcomes in some cases. So, as per recent observation, also it revealed that majority of researchers have encountered mental health challenges. So, do you think that institutional culture either supports or hinders the mental health of researchers? And if any support systems are available for researchers within the institutions to promote researchers' mental well-being, would it help them?
Of course, a lot of changes have happened in the recent past. See, I'll tell you, I was the editor for Indian Journal of Psychiatry, and we used, we can publish approximately around 8 to 10 original articles. We used to get around 140, 150 articles per month. A time was there when our rejection rate was somewhere around 90 to 95%. That means if 10 articles are submitted, only half to one article will get published. This is actually the situation. We have realized because in any institution, of course, as a postgraduate student, he has to submit it in time. That is one aspect of it. Many of the other researchers related to maybe a whole lot of funding agencies to every institution, and particularly because of the either MCI earlier or NMC now, the minimum number of papers necessary, he has to be first author, he has to be in the scopus, and many of these type of things. So the mental, in fact, the issues they go through is actually something very significant. As an editor, I have come across people, sir, I have already tried a few journals and they have rejected, and please help me. This is the particular request has been made. We have gone out of our way to see that whether this particular article can be improved, or, in fact, the help of one of the word what you mentioned, the mentoring and related things, uh, that can go a long way. But as one of the word that was mentioned again was that secrecy. See, many people now believe that if I announce it, in fact, the people will get into come to know and they will duplicate too. In fact, somehow this particular idea we should not discuss, or it is our job. We have to protect that intellectual rights, and whole lot of this issue actually they carry. But what I have seen is actually those people who network, in fact, go through this as a proper ethical way, their chances of getting into difficulty is minimal. Many of the people, what they try to do is actually they don't want to discuss even with the guide, and don't want to discuss with anybody else, and that is actually leads to a lot of difficulty. My professor used to tell, if you want to improve your article, you give it to one of those people who are highly critical, and they are the people who will help you improve the article in a much better fashion. This is one aspect of it. The second one, as we were trying to tell, the mental health issues are extremely common. Everybody, we're all human beings, and all of us have that particular vulnerability to that extent. And very specific groups, say women, those who are married, and while doing postgraduate course, say something like pregnancy. See, many of these type of issues actually add quite significantly. I also used to tell, we are doing post graduation. In fact, my focus will be on the research area. To you marry and do you want to do post-graduate means neither you have life nor wife. No, you got the point. This is the way actually it goes. Because literally time doesn't work. And it all depends on many of the other factors also. Those who are very non-castic in the sense that very systematic, very orderly, and everything has to be done properly too. There are some seniors who are actually very laissez-faire. In fact, Chaltai, that particular this thing. Ultimately, when we are trying to look at the mental health issues, let me tell you, I worked under two senior professors. One which was very critical and very systematic, it has to go through. Our job was very clear cut what we are not supposed to do and how we are supposed to. Where those type of institutional rules, regulations are not there. Take it for granted. Everything done in the last minute. Something has to be completed within that particular time. Is that see any such type of things will definitely add to the stress in general. So this is one aspect. The second one, now say for example, the suicide rate among the postgraduate students has risen significantly. That's one. And maybe not only medical, the quota experience that almost every month a certain number of people committing suicide, what they are actually reporting.
Yes.
Many other such things indicate that whether you are actually part of the study or part of the research or any one of these type of academic related these things, the institutions matter. Everybody has a particular capacity, a particular speed and pace, and those people who can understand this and use them, that they will be a better placed as far as the mental health of those wards are concerned compared to where everything is actually in some particular order it goes. Unfortunately, what is happening is India gets to be limited number of people where discussion and other related things were much more easier. Now, the number of people in an institution has increased so much. Now, even postgraduate studies, it looks like an undergraduate class, almost about 30, 40, 50. And let me tell you, as a evaluator for, I say, MD thesis, for some of the universities, we used to get 1, 2. Nowadays, we are, of course, now I am actually retired. I'm this year, that particular headache is not there. Sometimes we get 10, 15, 20 and all. You got the point? That means the workload has increased and everybody is chasing something and something has to be done and all of that. That's what actually creates difficulty both for the one who is working on and the other one who is actually trying to review and try to help them. This issue is actually extremely important and we are all well aware. One is actually the suicide again and again on the surface. Use of drugs and other personal and what we call relationship and such other conflicts that the people get through because they have to dedicate themselves quite significantly, but many things don't wait. That there may be an understanding husband, understanding wife, understanding parents. That makes a whole lot of difference. But all said and done, we have to look at all these things in a very comprehensive way. And the institutions which actually encourage research to, for example, say I have worked in CMC well or I have worked in NIMAC, where we don't practice. So another institution where practice is allowed, our time gets disturbed because of so many other reasons. Actually, we are in the rat race and so many areas we are trying to perform. What it makes is actually the individual is put under a lot of difficulty and trouble. So mental health issue becomes something extremely common. And of course, the pandemic and other related area, this has created quite a bit of difficulties and all of that. And we are all well aware the relationship and sexual and such other areas are also extremely commonly and how they affect. One is because of the knowledge and the other one is actually because of the stress. Quite well documented in a whole range of studies.
Yes, absolutely right, sir. And this is the one point, like you mentioned about that fear of judgment, from society, from your family, friends, everywhere. There is one more side because this is from the researcher side that what they will do at their end and from their family side or personal thing we can say. But there is one another side, Dr. Rawat, further to Dr. Rao's input, I would like to ask the question on this funding thing. That's a very, again, very debatable point. play a very important role. So, do you think the role of funding means it creates a pressure, aggravate mental health issues among researchers in developing countries such as India? And how does the work-life balance, like Dr. Rao also mentioned about the
Yeah.
same? Even as a professional, sometimes I am, it comes in my mind if I want to pursue my study, how I will manage all the things. Sometimes, it also comes in my mind. So, what's your thought on that?
All right, now funding, there are two types of funding that will come in. One would be the grant, if you are doing a project. So getting a grant, a funded, to do a funded research. Now, getting a grant for funded research. Now, this is a very, very, what shall I say, a technical thing. And why I'm calling it technical, because writing for a grant is also requires training, and many times scholars will read about a grant which is there, right, that, and they will just put something together and send it. Lot many things may get missed in that. So my suggestion, and this is what we have practiced, like I am looking after the faculty and staff development center, so periodically we do hold grant writing workshops, a 1 day grant writing workshop where the especially the young researchers, they are trained to how to put a grant proposal together, how to do the costing part of that, what is the Gantt chart, and how it has to be followed in terms of timelines, so that number one, you get the grant, and number two, once you have the grant, you also know how to take care of the expenses. If there are expenses which cannot be accommodated in your grant, then that has to be either paid by your pocket, or the institute has to fund it, depending upon whether the institute is interested in your work or not. So these are some of the things where a lot of training is needed, and if those trainings are not there, then definitely it is going to create much more pressure on the researcher. And therefore I would say that get yourself trained. Like in our university, what we say is that if you are thinking of applying for any grant, see to it that first you have undergone a training, and then you apply for the grant, then the possibility of getting that is high. Yeah, so this is what I would say. Yes, it does. This is one part of it, which is grant writing. Second type of funding which is there is, supposing like for GRF, you are not you've cleared UGC net exam, you're not cleared the GRF, and therefore there is no a kind of a financial support that is coming to you. So for such things, a lot of universities, including ours, what we do is that we appoint them as research scholars, where there is a monthly stipend which is given to them, and that stipend is more or less equal to what a GRF would be. So that takes care of their research related expenses, and they are also that way is, to some extent at least carefree, that this is not going to be impacting them, and then they are able to focus more on the thing. So these are the two types of grants that I would say. One is, do you have some monthly work, financial support coming to you, so that your research journey is getting addressed. And second is, if you are applying for a funded research project to write a paper around it, then you should be trained for that. So this is what would be my suggestion to handling stress arising out of this. Dr. Rao, you may want to
It's
add on
actually
that.
yeah.
Of course, in fact, in that particular line, a lot of changes are happening, and of course, now digital world has modified something totally. So if I can remember when we started Indians of Psychiatry, almost I was the editor for 12 years. First initial 1 to 2 years was desktop publication. That way is true. To now, in fact, everything on platform, so many tracks available to actually work on. Say, for example, coming to mental health, say Indian Psychiatric Society, Karnataka State Branch, we have this general psychiatric spectrum. Very recently, we have completed almost around 14 sessions on how to do research, how to do systematic reviews, how to write a paper, to a whole lot of such things. The same line, South Zone, about 5 states. The Indian Psychiatric Society, the national body, is also time to time in almost every conference we have actually some sessions meant for meaning people actually related to this. And of course, we have so many websites, and maybe the Sage itself, a lot many other people are working on
Yes,
a
yes,
way to help people. So the current generation is sometimes bombarded with so many methodologies. In fact, even that is also just like said during COVID time, used to
Yeah,
say
too many choices are there.
excess. This, so ultimately, what it matters is actually the individual's interest, passion, dedication, perseverance, and really matter.
yes, definitely. And yes, you're absolutely right. So on behalf of Sage, I would like to share this that we also have, that we are providing the presentations and the webinars on that how to publish your work in a reputed journals. So you can save yourself from the predatory journals. And there are so many other things are involved, interconnected. It's not only about to write a content, but also about the other things like ma'am, you mentioned like methodology, and sir you also think about the even the small thing keywords, it's a very important thing. So they are not very much clear with the format of the articles and sometimes completely miss the theme of the journal, right? So yes, absolutely. However, we are proceeding to the end of the session, and I'm also mindful of the for our audience as they are also waiting. But I will ask one more question from both of you. That is always in my mind that nowadays there is a lot of discussion going on about diversity and equality in all aspects. So what elements like race, ethnicity, gender bias, or we can say disability or socioeconomic status do influence the mental health experience of researchers, and do we need to reconsider or revisit the traditional guidelines within the institutions to improve the mental well-being of the researchers? Dr. Rawat, if you can say something and then we talk.
Yeah, as a psychiatrist, I can tell you, research is not staple item for everybody. See, take an example. Say, as a teacher, I have about 4 students. One would be extremely good in research, the other one would be extremely poor in doing research. That basic mental makeup itself, too. And when we are trying to talk about the medical field in particular, see, those people who are very good in practice, serving people, they need not have to be a good researcher. Those who are extremely good researchers and a lot of publications, they are actually very poor in either practice in serving and whole lot of such these things. So these are all what an institution has to do is actually recognize and try to encourage people who are meant for this and they want to pursue too. In fact, the others, hand holding, of course, so many other such things are necessary, and expecting too much, almost everybody. Say, for example, there is a joke that what the elephant can do and what ant can do. There is a whole lot of differences there. We can't have everything actually same rules, guidelines for everybody. So there has to be some mechanism to see that how best this particular thing can be done. Now there are two things are there. See, there are number of people, population is increasing, number of people interested in this area, and many people want to carry out research either which is mandatory or because of the interest. So one is to focus on this particular area and develop almost a range of people who can just either to mentor or a whole lot of that is one aspect of it. Second one,
Yes.
we must realize that mental health issues are extremely important. Many of the times, let me tell you, there are people who are doing extremely good job. Suddenly, the whole lot of things stops. As a psychiatrist, I can tell you these are all indicators of something more than what actually we are seeing on the surface. We have certain disorders like something bipolar, psychothermia, and many other such other things, wherein you'll be extremely good in some particular phase, and another time actually is extremely poor. We all have seen very good students where they face such an amount of anxiety to face the exam to another fellow who has not studied but very boldly will go and write and come. So this is the second aspect. Third one, this is what colleague was mentioning, how actually to help them. Actually, for example, grant is not there and financial issues. With financial problems, nobody can do a good research. It becomes difficult for a range of reasons. This is one of the extremely important. So that means making them understand how actually they can overcome. Let me tell you, I was having a lot of difficulty as far as finance is concerned when I was doing MBBS. My principal had given me a job in the library. He has given me job that after 6 to 8, I will be there in the library. I did not have to do much work, but I should be there in the library. Actually, it helped me so much that that is the time I utilized for my reading, and much of the time, instead of going here, there, doing a lot of things, I was sitting and trying to do. It may look a very like simple example, but all said and done, if somebody who is heading the institution can look into some students and help them, can go along. The last point is in that particular area is recognizing and actually somebody who was doing well and now he's not doing means it is not a simple laziness or irresponsibility and all. It is indicator of one of the most common disorder like depression and things like that. Stress itself leading to depression or a mild to severe form of depression. Many of the times, many people, particularly doctors or those who are involved with academic and other related work, they suppress, they don't come forward, they don't express, and we have something called smiling depression. As though on the surface we show that we are very happy, but inside we are suffering so much.
There is a song that "Itna क्यों मुस्कुरा रहे हो?"
Ah, it's not
Yeah.
question like the amount of stress the individual is going through behind and the depression that is lurking. And many of the times we have lost in our institution itself. Maybe take an example, the last 2 years, we have lost two teachers. The issue is again, these are all underlying illnesses we don't recognize very easily, and ultimately we are paying a very big price for that particular lapse. Now there are efforts. But all said and done, something positive happening itself is a good indicator. And this is what, for
Yes.
example, a program like
Yes.
this can make a lot of changes.
Definitely. I also quickly want to understand Dr. Preeti's input on this because you're, having the sessions with the public, even the private sectors, and you are closely in connecting with the researchers. What is your thought, ma'am, on this,
Yeah.
on this diversity and
So,
equality?
see, in 2015, we established the Center for Diversity Management and Inclusion. And the whole idea was that not only research, now take this research to the common man, right? Take it to the industry, take it to the students through various sensitization programs. So the center works around various topics like gender, like fluid sexuality. You have the LGBTQ community. We also are focusing on the Gen Z and their thought processes. Women, obviously, we've done a lot of work in this area. Then persons with disability, there are various forms of disability, physical and mental, psychomotor disabilities, and so on. So, and lot of these areas were stigmatized in the past, and they are still stigmatized, and therefore there is a bias around it. So the whole idea is that we work around these biases, we make it more in public, and best way to handle a bias is to have communication with people who belong to this community and let people judge for themselves. So we hold live workshops for our students where there is interaction amongst people from various communities with people who are not from the various communities, and that to a great extent, handles these kind of biases. And therefore, I will say that this is not something which one should cater only for young researchers. This is for public in general in an educational
Correct.
institution. And so one is raising awareness, that is something that we do. We also have the equal opportunity cell, where the work of the cell is to be seeing that, different segments of the society are not getting marginalized and people have an equal say in and ability to make choices. Then for people who are economically not so well off, I'll say, for them we have a scheme like Earn While You Learn. So students, we have some specific number of hours, say 4 hours a week, kind of work that you can do within the campus, so that you have some kind of support coming to you. And this also gives them dignity. This is not kind of a charity that we are doing. There is a dignity
Yes.
around it. They work, they take it with a lot of enthusiasm, and there's a lot of collective work around that. The people, and in the process they learn a lot of administrative skills also. And then yes, counseling, we have multiple counselors both online and offline available for the student fraternity, and also for the staff and the teachers. If they have any issues, they can always approach and take the help, and this is a free service. This is not something where they have to be paying for it. So these are the various ways where we try and handle biases, and in the process it's not only for the researchers, it is for student community at large. So one has to be thinking of ways and means of how you can address these issues. Like, lot of with women, lot of issues are around the patriarchal mindset, subservience of women. So women empowerment is something that we work around. Disability is another thing that we are working around. So these are some of the things that we are doing.
Yes. So thank you so much, Dr. Rao, for sharing such insightful information. As I said, that we also have some question from our audience side, and let's open the floor for them. And we have one question here from Shivangi Tiku, and this is are there any stigma-related barriers that prevent researchers from seeking help for mental health issues? Dr. Rao, would you like
Yes.
to add more?
Yeah,
Dr. Roy? Yeah.
absolutely. The whole point is, see, many people don't believe that stress is actually an important issue. The
Yes.
second one, many people believe mental illnesses means they're almost always madness and whole lot of such ideas. That's why they don't want to discuss. Say, for example, depression. Every individual will go through some time or other, and feeling depressed sometime or other is actually natural and normal. When actually it is producing some difficulty and all like that, seeking help is one of the things what actually definitely they have to do. This is one. The fourth one, even among the doctors also, see, for example, we psychiatrists work in different fashion, psychologists maybe. The whole issue is for many doctors, unless it is a specific physical problem, a fever or a tumor or something like that, they'll just brush it off. Don't worry about it. In fact, many of the times, sir, we are taking care of everything in so nice way, and all the parents and other relatives also sometimes come and tell us that way. See, because somebody is worrying, somebody will not go into depression. When somebody goes into depression, worries become important. In fact, it is just like somebody can have fever for some infection somewhere. The feeling worried and a whole lot of such things are actually indicators of some specific problem. Many don't seek help not because of anything. When I say something like I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling upset, and I'm finding it difficult to cope with, what we need to do is actually recognize and try to help the individual. That is one of the important points. I almost always say, see, if somebody says I am feeling like committing suicide or giving up and whole lot of things, this person needs help. Don't neglect. In fact, these are
Yes.
all what we basically call cries for help, and that need to be attended. Because we don't recognize it as an illness, or not necessary to be illness, but we all are. It is validation of my feeling that I am not feeling all right means it should be actually attended rather than just brushing it off. So stigma is one actually which prevents from taking treatment. Many people don't continue treatment, don't try to help out. This apart, because I'm interested in psychosexual medicine, let me tell you, many treatments, many disorders actually produces sexual issues. One is mental health issues they don't talk. Sexual issues, relation issues, they hardly talk at all about unless we specifically. And ultimately, when they land up with the difficulty, almost it has gone to a level where nothing really can be done. So recognize early, seek help when professional help is available. Even otherwise, also now there are so many ways. See, now
Yes.
telemedicine and such things have come, which can go a long way. With whomever you feel comfortable, don't just neglect and keep quiet. Seek help in time and be get out of that particular difficulty. The advice what it.
So we also have a second question here from Mr. Azim Dana, and I would like to ask this question from Dr. Preeti Rawat. So they are asking that for prevention, will it be okay to conduct few sessions for 3 to 4 hours for a week? Or do we need to have a follow-up sessions, and how frequently do we need to have this follow-up session, especially with students?
Okay, so prevention of what? Prevention of any kind of a mental issue if they are talking of, or is it a bias that is there? So in general, I would say rather than prevention, focus on sensitization. And
Yes.
if there are any personal issues, then it is not, you cannot quantify how many sessions you will need. Maybe sometimes it could be just as few as say 1 or 2 sessions, and you've got a solution and you implement it and you find. Some will require more prolonged counseling session. Some may require counseling plus psychiatric support both. So it all depends upon what is the nature of your problem, how and how that problem can be addressed. And third thing that I would say is that many times students seek help of counselors, but they do not inform their family members. Now, counseling is something that I would say should be done where your family is also part of it. And it's a because see the environment which has led to that kind of issue, somewhere the family members are also you could say contributed to that. So somewhere they also need to be helped, counseled. Only then this person is going to thrive in the new ecosystem. So rather than hiding or taking it as stigma, nobody should know about it, and I'm going to seek counseling in all kinds of what shall I say, nobody knows about it. That's a very wrong way of looking at it. It is very much okay to let your friend know, yes, you are taking help, counseling you're taking. Your family members should know, and if the doctor or the counselor says, I would like to meet your family members, then they should be willing to come, talk, and help. The whole idea, intention should be to help and support. And many
Yes.
times people say that if people are depressed and so on, go out, watch a movie, everything is going to fine, or go and watch a humorous serial and you will be fine. These are things that cannot be solved like this. It requires a change of approach. I mean, Dr. Rao will talk about the various therapies which are there, CBT, which is very popular today. So it is a systematic approach to addressing the issues which are mental in nature. But let me tell you, one
Yes.
should not be afraid of it. It should not be pushed
Yeah.
under the carpet that everything is fine and nothing. And or sometimes they'll say, "Iski shadi kar do," and the person is going to be fine. Right. So it is
Yeah.
not like that. Marriage is not a solution for everything, and that already once you get married, things are going to maybe it will just get worsened. So address it, and then yes, take on other complications in your life. That's what I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
So
so I hope
we
I
can
have
say
addressed
the
the
yeah.
question.
Yes, absolutely. So we can say like we have a slogan of this, session, break the silence. So breaking the silence is an important thing. Let's talk, let's communicate with your friends, with your family. And of course, we will come up with more sessions like this. This will definitely help me also, because we are approaching the end of our session, and I would like to express my gratitude on behalf of SAGE to our prominent speakers, Dr. Rawat and Dr. Rao, for their invaluable contributions. Sir, ma'am, your presence, knowledge, and expertise have
Thank you.
made this discussion truly meaningful. I also extend my thanks to our audience for your presence and active participation in this webinar. I encourage you to share this web link with your peers and groups so that others may benefit from this enlightening discussions as well. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day ahead, and namaskar, Shabakya. Thank you.
Thanks for all the
Thank you.
opportunities.
Thank you for the opportunity.